다인네 이또나 신고 빠르 또는 신고 이또나 신고 빠르 또는 신고 야또야 미타 또는 신고 야또야 미타 또는 신고 바히나 신고 리다히나 신고 바히나 신고 리다히나 신고 나라 신고 마dim 사라난 프라바지 나라 신고 마dim 사라난 프라바지 Namaste Narasimhaya Lada Lada Dayine Hiranyakashipu Bhaksha Silatankana Kalaye Ito na singo pare to na singo Yato yamita to na singo Bahio na singo ridahi na singo Nara singo madim sadanan prapaje Narasingho Madim Sharanan Prapaje Narasingho Madim Sharanan Prapaje Tavakada Kamalabarena Kamabhuta Singham Tarita Hiranyakashipu Tanubringham Kesabadita Narahari Rupa Jayo Jagodisho Hore Jayo Jagodisho Hore Jayo Jagodisho Hore Kavakara Kamalabarena Kamabhuta Singham Karita Hiranyakashipu Tanubringham Kesavadito Naraharero Pajayo Jagodisho Hore Jayo Jagodisho Hore Jayo Jagodisho Hore Jayo Radho Madhavo Kunda Bihari Jayo Radho Madhavo Kunda Bihari Gopirana Balaba Girivardhani Jai Gopirana Balaba Girivardhani Shudanana Bididinarandana Shudanana Bididinarandana Samunatira Manachari Samunatira Manachari Jayurado Mandovo Kundabihani Jayorado Madhovo Kundabihari Jayo Gupirana Balava Girivardhari Jai Gupirana Balava Girivardhari Shodanandana Vididinarandana Jashudanandana Vididinarandana Jamunatira Banachari Jamunatira Banachari Jayurado Madhovo Kundabihari Jayurado Madhovo Kundabihari Jayurado Madhovo Kundabihari Jayam Vishnu Pada Pam Supri Brajikachaya Satara Satashi Shima Chaitanya Goswami Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Simharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai ISKCON Devotee Founder Charyas Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Prem Takos Krishna Chaitanya Bhumnichananda Sudeti Radha Sivasudi Gaura Bhaktivedanta Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shyamakunda Radha Kunda Giravadani Ki Jai Mathura Dham Ki Jai Navadip Dham Ki Jai Navapuri Dham Ki Jai Navaswami Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Tosamani Ki Jai Gopremanandi Hari Bol Sam Veda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai All glories some devotees, all glories some devotees, all glories some devotees, all glories to Sri Guru Ram, all glories divine grace to the Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is. Chapter 12, text 8. Mayi Eva Mana Adatsva Mayi Buddhim Niveshaya Nivasishyasi Mayi Eva Ata Urdvam Na Samshaya Mayi Eva Mana Adatsva Mayi Eva Mana Adatsva Mayi Buddhim Niveshaya Mayi Buddhim Niveshaya Nivasishyasi Mayeva Nivasishyasi Mayeva Ata Urdvam Na Samshaya Ata Urdvam Na Samshaya Mayeva Mana Adatsva Mayi Buddhim Niveshaya Nivasyishyasi mayeva ata ordvam na samshaya. Just fix your mind upon me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and engage all your intelligence in me. Thus you will live in me always, without a doubt. Purport. One who is engaged in the Lord Krishna's devotional service lives in a direct relationship with the Supreme Lord. So there is no doubt that his position is transcendental from the very beginning. A devotee does not live on the material plane, he lives in Krishna. The holy name of the Lord and the Lord are non-different. Therefore, when a devotee chants Hare Krishna, Krishna and his internal potency are dancing on the tongue of the devotee. When he offers Krishna food, Krishna directly accepts these eatables, and the devotee becomes Krishnaized by eating the remnants. One who does not engage in such service cannot understand how this is so, although this is a process recommended in the Bhagavad Gita and in other Vedic literatures. Mayeva mana aratsva mayi buddhim niveshaya nivasishyasi mayeva ata ordvam na samshaya. Just fix your mind upon me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and engage all your intelligence in me. Thus you will live in me always without a doubt. So this is a process of meditation. It is a process of development of the innermost consciousness so that it may always be fixed and devoted to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna. It is a question of devotion. Everything that takes place in devotional service is a question of devotion. How much one has developed his love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is not an easy thing to develop actual love for Krishna. But then again, it is also not very difficult. Because the process is quite simple. One must chant the holy name of the Lord, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And gradually one will be purified and gradually understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But it's difficult because it's not so easy to do that. A lot of persons can chant Hare Krishna for some time. And it is also quite possible to chant Hare Krishna without thinking about or being very conscious of all of the offenses which are committed. It is quite simple to chant Hare Krishna with offenses. It is very difficult to chant Hare Krishna without offenses. So therefore, the chanting of the holy name of the Lord, the development of offenseless chanting of the holy name of the Lord, is an extremely difficult process. Because our consciousness is filled with contaminations and all kinds of problematic desires which are keeping us bound up in this material world hand and foot. Most persons are not able to chant the holy name all the time, and most persons are not able to chant the holy name offenselessly even some of the time. Perhaps somebody may be able to chant the holy name of the Lord for some short period of time in an offenseless way. And even that is sufficient to put one in the transcendental position. If we could even chant even one Hare Krishna mantra offenselessly, this will very nicely purify us. Just even one Hare Krishna mantra, offenselessly chanted, is sufficient to purify the living entity. In fact, even one time chanting the holy name of the Lord properly is sufficient to purify the living entity. Even when the chanting is not done very perfectly. This is called namabhas. Namabhas means a reflective chanting of the holy name of the Lord. When one is chanting, he may not even be very aware of what he is chanting. But if that chanting is done offenselessly, it is enough to grant one liberation. Just like there is a butter in Sweden called, or maybe it's not Sweden, it's Germany, but I forgot. But anyway, there's a butter somewhere that's called Rama butter. So if one properly chants the name Rama, and he's talking about butter, then he'll make all kinds of spiritual advancement. The holy name of Rama is within many words that we chant. Just like there's the Sinna Rama, the Vasha Rama, or different things that have the word Rama in it, because that is also used in the English language and in other languages as well. So, if one, by accident, chants such a name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, without actually knowing why or how, still he will become purified. And he will develop all kinds of good qualities, spiritual qualities. Liberation even can be attained. What to speak of one who consciously chants offenselessly the holy name of the Lord. His development in spiritual life cannot be estimated by any means. If even unconscious chanting the holy name of the Lord brings you to the point of liberation, then fully conscious chanting, offenseless, fully conscious chanting, can bring you to a point which cannot be estimated in the minds of any of us very quickly. Because this chanting of the holy name of the Lord is very powerful. It is described in all of the Vedas, glorified throughout the Chaitanya Charitamrita, especially in the discussion between Haridas Thakur and other brahmanas. Haridas Thakur was showing the glories of the holy name of the Lord by Vedic evidences. He was proving without a doubt that chanting of the holy name brings one to the topmost platform of perfection. In fact, some of these brahmanas were saying that chanting of the holy name of the Lord is very good for purification purposes. Haridas Thakur was saying something different. Other brahmanas, they were saying that the holy name of the Lord gives one liberation. So these two groups, the ones who said the holy name is just good for purification, the other group that said it's good for liberation, they were arguing back and forth. Because they were both arguing on this point, Haridas Thakur said, you're both wrong. Because the holy name of the Lord will grant liberation, which means purification, as a byproduct. The direct meaning of the chanting of the holy name of the Lord is that one will develop pure love of Godhead. Krishna mantra hoite pabe, samsara mochana, Krishna mantra hoite habi, Krishnara charana. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita it's described these two different stages. Yes, the chanting of Krishna's name, Krishna mantra, Hare Krishna mantra, will bring one freedom from the samsara, there's no doubt. But the Krishna mantra is meant to bring you to the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna. So, the mantra may bring different effects, but the ultimate effect is meant to bring one to the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Coming to the lotus feet of the Lord is the perfection of all chanting, the perfection of all religious practices. Therefore, intelligent persons take up this chanting of the holy name of Krishna as a primary duty, because they want to attain love of Godhead, and this is the methodology by which this is done. So, this mantra meditation that we are performing is essential because it brings one to the platform which is far beyond the fruitive platform of karmic activities, or even karma yoga, where one is performing activities simply for the sake of coming to the point of heavenly planet's elevation or something like that. So, the Supreme Personality of Godhead has given His holy name his form, his pastimes, his paraphernalia, his associates, his abode, etc., to us, so that we, who are here within the material world, may become purified in association with Krishna, the supreme purifier. So, Krishna is saying in this verse, Mayeva mana adatsva, just fix your mind upon me without deviation. Just simply somehow or another think of me. Always think of me, always chant my name, always engage in my devotional service. Maya sakmanak pata yojam yunjam adashaya asamshayam samagram mam yatagyasasi touch trinu. Maya sakmanak pata. It's the same thing practically. Fix your mind upon me. Yogam yunjan madashaya. Taking shelter of me. This is actually yoga. To take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And ashamshayam samagram mam. You will come to that point of realizing the absolute truth without a doubt. Ashamshayam. Freedom from all doubtful condition of life. Yatha gyasasi touch trinu. Just hear from me how this can be done. The Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself explains to the conditioned souls how they may come to the point of understanding this attachment of mind to the Supreme. Because the mind may be attached in so many ways to so many things, because that is the nature of the mind. The mind is attached to all kinds of maya. But Krishna is saying, be attached to me, because such attachment is without a doubt the most important of all forms of attachment. Can you shut the door, please, to the kitchen? Thank you. One must be attached to something. It is necessary, because we are small, insignificant spirit souls. Being that we're so infinitesimal, we tend to become attached to something which is greater than we. When we are attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that is the perfection of attachment. But when we are attached to this body or mind or anything pertaining to the body or mind, this attachment is development of maya and will keep us burning in this material samsara dhavana. This means the fire of material existence. And one may stay within this fire of material existence so long he isn't fixing his mind on Krishna. Therefore Krishna says, Manmana, think of me. Thinking, thought, the mind has to become fixed in Krishna. It is not easy. It is very, very difficult. Because the mind will, by nature, be fixed in so many things. Therefore, Manmana, think of Krishna. Krishna also says in the 8th chapter, Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mamanujasma yujacha maya arpita mano buddhir mamivajasi asamshaya. This is a very important verse where Krishna explains how, oh dear Arjuna, under all circumstances, at all times and all places, just perform your duties, but think of me, Krishna, within. And being absorbed in me, within all of our activities, one will attain me without a doubt. In other words, Krishna guarantees that if you are engaged in His loving devotional service, if you are thinking of Him while performing His loving devotional service, you will attain Him without a doubt. So we should try and come to the point of understanding Krishna by being attached to His devotional service. We should try and remember Krishna, think of Krishna, act for Krishna, develop our love for Krishna. This is the perfection of existence. To remember the Supreme Lord, act under the instruction of the Supreme Lord, act for the benefit of the Supreme Lord, and always be lovingly engaged in Krishna's devotional service. This is the perfection of existence. Once the mind is fixed in Krishna, the intelligence follows. And when the intelligence is fixed in Krishna, one lives within Krishna without a doubt. So, one's mind and intelligence faith and refuge, being fixed in the Supreme, is the perfection for the conditioned soul. So we, the living entities, should learn the art of being fixed in Krishna. And this art is learned by studying very carefully this Bhagavad Gita, because Krishna says, he who studies this Bhagavad Gita worships me by his intelligence. So Krishna says, by your intelligence, you should be fixed in me. And he also says, he who reads Gita worships me by his intelligence. So obviously, one of the most important principles is to read Bhagavad Gita. If one reads Bhagavad Gita, understands the principles within Bhagavad Gita, then his intelligence can become fixed within Krishna, the speaker of Bhagavad Gita. And that is perfection. So we are requesting that everybody take up the point of hearing, remembering, chanting, serving, according to the instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, under the influence of Bhagavad Gita, the instructions of Spiritual Master, and the needs for spreading this Krishna consciousness movement. And in this way, we'll be able to expand the Krishna consciousness movement very nicely throughout the world. So are there any questions? Yes. In the beginning, you see the deity as something which is supposed to be God. When you are most advanced, you see the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One should ask questions if he has doubts, to clear up the doubts. That is sincerity. If you don't clear up your doubts and you let them ruin your mind, that is insincerity. No, these are just many aspects of the truth. If you just chant your rounds properly and follow the principles for the rest of your life, and you don't become purified, well, there's something really wrong with you. If you do that properly, you will become purified, and by the time you're old and your teeth are falling out, and you can no longer run after sense gratification anymore, you most likely will surrender to Krishna. However, at that time, if you're still attached to all kinds of material things, then you'll come back again and take up another chance in a Gurukul body, perhaps. But this process is so powerful, you have to really be a fool to come back again. There are quite a few such persons. Yes. Not very pleasant subject matter, not necessary to discuss. logic comes from the spiritual platform. The Vedas are the most logical. What Krishna says is the most logical. In fact, Krishna sets the definition of what is logic by his statements, by the Vedic statements. Logic is also a section of the Vedas. It's called Nyaya. Philosophical logic was the original logic. All other forms of logic followed philosophical logic. The Vedas are the most philosophically logical. So if you're talking about mathematical logic, Boolean logic, it's very useful in programming and other electronics things. So that's also useful in spiritual life. Yes. Should listen to his instructions and follow them. You'll develop all relationships. There's nothing more to it than that. No fancy formula. That's it. Finished. Why? You think there's something more? So, what else is new? So you still have the desire to be the enjoyer and controller. So, that's why you're in the material world. When you get rid of that desire, then you'll be purified. You'll go back to the spiritual world. So do you think that's unusual? Oh, he doesn't want to be the controller enjoyer. He has no desire to be the controller enjoyer. Get the Arctic tray. He doesn't want to have such desires. That's something different, because you still do. And you do because you want to. Go on, admit it. Now he admits it. I know. I already said he did. So, now we have discovered that you are a nonsense like everybody else. Very big realization. So now we have to simply act in such a way that purification will take place. So 5 years, such a long period of time. Wow. You must be really getting old. 5 whole years. You have been engaged in the Krishna consciousness movement. A couple more years like this and you're going to need a wheelchair. I need a joke sign here too. When I hold up my joke sign, then you laugh, okay? So my joke sign is held up. Joke. Is it always like this in Poland? No one ever laughs at anything? Yes. What do you mean? Wait. I get stacks of letters from Poland with all kinds of questions. So what do you mean, directly? You think a letter is indirect? Who do you think answers it? I have some computer that answers letters? Hey, if I'm talking, you don't talk. Again, you're doing it. I just finished saying, while I'm talking, you don't talk, and you pull the plug out. While I'm saying it, he pulls the thing out. So do you think I have a computer that answers letters? Well, you can. But you don't have to, because you're sitting here. So now you can ask the question. They're finding different things in Mexico. What is this? What are they finding? Cockroaches? Oil? No use. What is the meaning of this question? Kindly explain the spiritual significance of finding things in Mexico. Maybe they found a Russian Bhagavad Gita there. What's the question? Question starts with a what, how, when, where, why, or who, and it ends with a question mark at the end. And it is of one sentence in length. So you may now ask a question. It must begin with one of these question words and end with a question mark. In one sentence or less. Too much time. Yes. Yes, chanting. But that's not mechanical. The more you chant, the more you have taste to read after chanting. That's not mechanical, but it's a very good way to increase your desire to read. Chant more than 16 rounds. Then you'll be very much eager to read. Yes, if you don't take more than your quota, there's no karmic reaction, because you are getting that as a product of your past karma. If you take more, then you're creating new karma, because you're a thief. That's called mental speculation. And is not necessary. Take more than your quota means that you are stealing something which doesn't belong to you. That's not the only thing you do all day long. For instance, you may just take what food is allotted to you. That's all right. Vegetables, fruits. But if you try killing animals and eating them, you're taking more than your quota. You may have so and so much money that may come to you, but if you try stealing from others to get it, that's taking more than your quota. You get that, that's all right. If it comes to you automatically, there's no karma in getting it. It means you should avoid trying to take one principle and sticking it into another one without having a mature realization of either of them. How can we? You know about how can we questions? Did anyone ever tell you about a how can we question? Yes or no? You know about how can we questions or not? If you don't, I will tell you. If you do, then you're a nonsense. Yes or no? Huh? He knows. And still, he has asked, how can we question? Very determined. What to do? Anyway, since you're so determined, I will make a half attempt to answer your question. How to make your chanting better? You try hearing better. How do you hear better? By doing all of the things we do as devotees better, including all of the reading and the service and everything. Just do it all better. Then your chanting gets better. All how can we questions, they all have the same answer. Hearing better, chanting better, reading more, serving better, becoming more sincere, all stem from just going on in devotional service, and gradually purifying takes place. By following all of the principles in devotional service, gradually purification takes place automatically. So we cannot give you any formulas. Everybody wants a formula. It would be so easy to have a formula. How to go back to Godhead formula. Written on a piece of paper. Then you just follow it. A plus B plus C plus D equals God. Then we would be very happy, because then we wouldn't have to think or surrender. Just like when you cook from a cookbook. 1 pepper, chopped. 1 potato, chopped. Cook for 10 minutes. Turn timer on. Tick, 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 bubble, 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 bubble. Tick, 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 bubble, 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 bubble. Ding! Take off heat. Chung. Put in 1/2 teaspoon salt. Put in 1/2 teaspoon pepper. Mix. Stir, 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 stir. This is very nice. You don't need any brain whatsoever. You simply have to know what a potato is, what a pepper is, what salt is, what pepper is, and what 1/2 a teaspoon or a teaspoon is. That's all. No brain, nothing. So everybody wants this kind of formula. Go back to Godhead formula. Read 1 chapter Bhagavad Gita. Chant 16 rounds Hare Krishna mantra. Follow 4 regular principles. Next day, All right, I've done this for 5 days. I've followed the formula. Now where's the preparation that I'm going to enjoy? One thinks like that. Some people try to even boil it down to chanting Hare Krishna mantra so and so many times, then they go back to Godhead. As if it had something to do with numbers. Has nothing to do with numbers. Has nothing to do with formulas. It is simply a question of gradual purification. And you get back home, back to Godhead. Which means every day you do the program, and every day you become more purified, and finally you start to love Krishna. And when you actually start to love Krishna, then everything starts going really nicely. And then that just increases more and more. So all how can we questions are answered in the same exact way. The more surrendered you are to Krishna, the more you'll be able to deliver Krishna to others, and thus the more you will be able to help them. Direct connection. The less surrendered you are to Krishna, the less you represent Krishna, the less you'll be able to help others. To the degree to which you are surrendered to Krishna, to that degree you can help others. As many people there are, as many opinions there are. If you want to know how it looks, just stick around for a couple of years and see if anybody has it together, and then look at it. We've been trying to just do it by the way. Just so that it gradually just happens and everybody's doing it, but nobody's disturbed. In other words, that by gradual realization of what we are, we come naturally to accept a certain position and tend to act within it, and tend to mold our life around that kind of a duty. And when everybody's in that condition, then you have Varnashram Dharma. It starts with the individual. When the individuals become purified, then the individuals can understand with honesty what they are, and then act within that. And when everybody's doing that, that's called Varnashram Dharma. And new people who come will tend to do the same thing because they'll see how nicely engaged are the others. But they too will have to be purified before they can also fit within such a system. Understand? This is exactly the way Prabhupada explained it to me when I asked him, how will Varnashram come? How will we start Varnashram? And Prabhupada said, by spreading the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. For when they become purified, naturally it will develop. No. If you're making a big endeavor under the order of the spiritual masters, then you must please him. But if you're making an endeavor which is outside of the order of the spiritual master, then you're wasting your time. It's the question of whether you're following the order or not. If you're following the order, then it's all right. If you're not, then you're wasting your time. You're simply going to have to learn. You who are leaders have to learn how to be good leaders, and you who are followers have to learn how to be good followers, and all work together. We can't change the whole structure of the Krishna consciousness movement because you who are leaders are not the greatest leaders, and you who are followers are not the greatest followers. Rather, you should learn a little patience and tolerance and help the leaders become good leaders, and the leaders can help the followers become good followers by being good leaders. And in this way, everything will develop.